Alrighty, welcome back, fellow YouTube auto repair enthusiasts. Had to wait for this plane to fly over. I'm back again with another project on my 99 Ford Explorer XLT that has the big 4-liter engine on it. Also has those suicide doors. And so today's issue seems to be the suicide door did not want to open properly. And I'll demonstrate that on the passenger door because I do have the driver's side door partially dismantled. So I'm going to put it back together, kind of show you what I did, and otherwise you're just going to see, well, how did you do that? So I'll put the things, all those little bits and pieces back together so you can see me disassemble it without having to struggle. But again, what I had a problem was I thought it was just the cold of the mechanism. There are two mechanisms, one at the top of the suicide door, one at the bottom, striker plate, top and bottom. I thought that was the issue, that maybe the mechanism was dirty or possibly worn out. I don't know what's inside. Sometimes it's plastic, sometimes it's metal, could have a spring, etc., etc., etc. But what would happen is when I would try and open that door, it would catch, even though I pulled the handle. I fully extended the handle. So I tinkered with it, put some WD-40 and some silicone in there. Didn't really get any better. I said, okay, I'll disassemble it, clean it very well, put it back in. Well, that's what I did. Still didn't improve the situation. So I said, well, now I'm going to have to take the door panel off, which I did. And in the process, I said, well, something's just not quite right. The mechanism looks as if it's operating correctly. Well, when I looked closely, I found out it's actually the cables. There's one that goes to the top, one goes to the bottom, and I'll show you exactly what is broken. After all these years, the end has broken. The cable is fine, but there is a stabilizer on the end that fits into a groove in each of those mechanisms, top and bottom, that keeps the cable in place. So what was happening is I would pull the handle open, the cable moved, and so did the sleeve. You want the sleeve to remain still. You just want the cable to move. Well, because that, and then I would close it, and at the mechanism on the bottom especially, in each end there's like a piece that you fit into the mechanism, much like a speedo cable, that grabs the mechanism, keeps it in place, pulls it up, pulls it down. I'll show you that. It's kind of hard to describe, but because the actual sleeve kept moving, I wasn't getting the full grip of the cable. So what was happening is the mechanism was not fully opening. The mechanism is actually just fine, but it's those actual sleeves. And I'll show you what that, and this is a problem apparently. I saw a whole bunch of YouTube videos. It's a problem. It's a rubber type grommet, and after all these years it's worn out. Now I'm going to open the door on the passenger side and kind of show you what it looks like and what you have to do to get to this, because I've got the other side partially dismantled. I kind of put it back together and show you all the pieces. Thank heavens spring has arrived. I've been trying to do this for like 3-4 weeks now, but it seems like the March winds came in April. Here is North Carolina, spring has sprung. It's April of 2018, and I couldn't do it with all the wind because you wouldn't be able to hear me. This thing doesn't have a filter for wind. So the only thing you would have heard was and that wouldn't have been any good. Been there, done that. So let me go open that passenger door, and show you how it looks when it's assembled. Oh, I also need to charge the battery. I hadn't driven this thing in about a month, and of course, dead battery. So we get around to the door. Here is the, get out of the sun there. Here's the handle for the door, right here. And so when you want to open the suicide door, pull the handle. Well, it would get caught right like this. It would catch on the lower mechanism, but it was fine up at the top mechanism. And again, I dismantled everything, cleaned it out real well, thinking it was the actual lock mechanism itself. I was incorrect. And then the door. So there's the catch for the bottom. So this one works fine. So what I had to do is I had to go into the internal mechanisms here. I had to pull this panel off. Let's see, I'm trying to remember the size of bolts. There is behind here. Let me go on the other side and show you this a little bit easier. You have to remove one bolt here. You have to remove one bolt down here. And then in order to get to the cables, this handle, and of course remove the panel. This handle, those are pop rivets. Ford is real good for that. Those are pop rivets. Now once I got that panel off, what I had to do is there is a center pin there. A little center pin. That is steel. The outside is a soft aluminum. So in order to get this handle off, you're going to have some pop rivets once you get it back on. You can buy the handle separately. But that wasn't the issue. It was the cables. Let's see if I can get a good shot here. No, that's not going to work there. I'll have to get the actual piece that I've taken off. But once I got that panel off, I had to take a punch and knock out that little center pin, just knock it straight through. Then you can drill the soft aluminum out, because these handles are replaceable. You can get a handle. So drill that out, punch the rest of that through, then the handle comes out. There's a cable that attaches to the upper unit and one that goes to the bottom unit. So you can see it here. There we go. One that goes to the bottom unit, one that goes to the top unit. You will see once you get the door open. So let me go to the other side and I'll show you that. As you could see, I went ahead and knocked that out, knocked that out. Now that is a 3/16 inch hole, so when you drill that out, you don't want to sit there and make that hole any larger. What I did is I've got a Dremel tool, and I just very, very carefully went in there and drilled that out and then punched the rest through. So again, what happened was, get this handle out. You can see right here, there's the cables. And if you look, you see part of the cable that holds the sheath or the sleeve is no longer attached to that. It's right there. And there's the rest of the sheath right there. You see how that piece should be attached to that. And then it slides, there's some clips back here. It should slide right in there because those clips will slide out. Well, what was happening was it would catch because the sheath kept moving. The sheath is supposed to remain stationary. The cable's supposed to move. And so every time I would try and open the door, it would not fully open up the mechanism down here. So you think, hey, okay, that's an easy fix. Just get you some new cables. And, sorry, wrong answer. Can't do that. Let's go ahead and open this door. Evidently, you have to buy the entire mechanism. As you can see, I've got the panel off here. You have to buy the entire mechanism. That bottom mechanism, that top mechanism, I've taken the top one out for now. I'll show you what that looks like. And the bottom one's out, sitting in the door. That's like $300 something. And I said, no. Again, I even looked for aftermarket. You simply just can't find the cables. And I said, well, I go to the junkyard, but then I'll end up with the same issue. As you see up here, same issue. That attaches to that upper mechanism, and that grommet part is gone. Now, so what do? Apparently, for like, I don't know, 10 bucks for two of them, you can get these new aircraft aluminum grade sleeves that fit over this. You just have to very carefully cut the old ones off and slide these on. And I'll show you there's a different head. One's round and one's a little on the oblong side, and I'll show you why they made it that way. Now, oh, here's a tip. You know, here are all the clips. When you pull this handle, the door panel off, you start at the bottom. You're going to have to remove the bolt here, and I'll give you the spec on that in a minute. And you're going to have to undo this bolt here, and I'll give you that spec in a minute. And if you notice, it's got blue Loctite, so it may seem a little bit on the firm side, but that's because it's got the blue Loctite. The other one was a Torx, so I'll pull that out and show you the size in a minute. There are all kinds of clips here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so about 9, 10 of these things. Now typically, you know, it's like a automobile panel. Do it on a warm day, man. I tell you, don't do it if anything below 60 degrees. All right, these things have a tendency to break on you anyway, but when it gets cold they'll snap. But these things are so long, when you start pulling on this panel down here, you don't just pop it off like that. You have to exert some steady pressure and pull it out. Why? Because these things are very, very long. As you can see, I didn't do that. Luckily I didn't break any of these clips, but it just takes a while and you have to jiggle it. When I put them back in, I usually put a little bit of grease on them or something, so for the next time. But understand those things are, you know, about this long. They're not short. This one's most of the way out. You can see that one. Alright, so again, wait till it's a good 60 degrees. Let me see what size bolts and Torx these were. So the top bolt here, that was a 15 millimeter. Now down here at the bottom, you know, they had to undo the seat belt down at the bottom here. Look, let's get that seat belt, big bolt. It goes right there, and it's up underneath the plastic there. It goes right there. That's a T45, so that's a Torx 45, and the small bolts, like all of these, and don't forget they have blue, Loctite blue, not red, Loctite blue on them. Hold on, I had that. That's going to be a T27. So T27, T45, and that was a 15 millimeter. Now here's the remainder of those pop rivets. And of course you're going to have a pop rivet gun and some pop rivets that are 3/16 inch. They're 3/16 inch short and long. I'm not sure, I'll have to compare this. I got them both just in case. So that's the remainder of the pop rivet. This one just happened to pop right out. Once I drilled a little bit of it out, I didn't have to carve all this down. Again, that's soft aluminum. So let me go get those pieces and show you how those fit into each of these mechanisms. Alright, now here's the bottom mechanism. Again, it's three bolts up underneath, T27, easy enough to remove. And part of the reason that thing is so expensive, especially this lower one, is because it has that actuator to lock and unlock the door. Now the cable will go down through here. So the kit that you get, it takes 4 per door. You have, you know, the end that goes on the actuator, the end that goes to the handle for the lower actuator, upper actuator, same thing. But if you notice, that end is round. This end has some grooves or sides cut out. And I'll show you why on the other mechanism. This one will slide into here. And it'll snap in. So once you put this on the cable and you're going to slide it on, up to about this point, it's going to snap in there. Let me get the other mechanism and show you the difference. Now see how easy that is to get it in that one. Okay, so here's the difference. See, that's got a tab to it. And I've seen people bend that tab up, which you could do, and slip one of those round ones in. But this one is designed to fit in there. So it's got the edges. I can slip it in. So we can do this one-handed here. Slip it in and then twist it, and of course it stays into place. And from my understanding, when I looked at all the videos, you don't have to crimp this it'll stay on by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and put this upper one on first. We just twist it. The chances of it slipping out are pretty slim. You got to find that little sweet spot there, and out it comes. I'm not sure putting this camera on a tripod is going to make any difference, but you see here, slide that over like so, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to double check this adjustment here so that this piece ends up on one side or the other when I mount everything back up here in perspective, because once it's on, this cable doesn't want to twist very much. Whoops, there it goes. So let me do that next. If you look at this, when I mount this back up there, if I see there's the slot, if I put the slot to the far left, that's where it slides in. If I move it over here, then I have less of a chance of it popping out the next time I open the door. So I'm going to slide it on it a little bit more, maybe a little more to the right. Now you got to have a little bit of finger strength, but it's on there, and it's up to right about there. I'm going to put this back in the mechanism. Now that's a little tricky. I can't really film that part. On the upper one, you've got to move things around just a little bit to get it to adhere to the catch. That's what it'll look like when it's on there. So you can see. And way down here, it's really, really hard to see. I had to make sure that the little ball, steel ball on the end, was within the slot. Now I'm going to use some thread locker glue and put this top one back in. This is the part where you've got to be very careful. See, I'll cut this off. I'll trim this off very carefully. Don't cut the sheath. Just this part right here. Actually, for the most part, it's just breaking off. It's just dry rotted after all these years. Now remember, this lower one goes to the top. This one goes to the bottom. So this is the one pulling on the upper mechanism. If you take your time, it comes off rather easily. Brittle. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this upper one for the bottom. Nice and clean. Mind your fingers. Sharp knife. Use the razor blade. So again, this one goes to the lower mechanism. This one goes to the upper mechanism. So those last three sheaths will go on. Notice they are all round. Two will go on the cables, and the other one will, I had it, there we go. This one, when you put it on, you'll have to snap it in, probably with a pair of pliers. It's going to be a good snug fit. This is the back side of that handle. You pull the clip out about so far. You'll slide that in. See if I can get in there. And it's a firm fit. And you'll slide it over, and it'll fit in the groove. It's too close. Focus. Too close. Focus. It'll fit in the groove, and you snap the clip over it. So this is what it looks like all reassembled. Now, unfortunately, I had some trouble. I had to remove that lower cable simply because pushing this into that aluminum, it got stuck, and I was about a quarter inch away from what it should have been. So I had to kind of put it in a vise, and I shot it full of silicone, and then I very carefully took a pair of lineman's pliers and pushed on it, and it finally slid all the way in there. So right now I'm having to glue back this little piece here, you know, the little fuzzy thing that covers this up. It always breaks loose. It's plastic, and I did break one mount right here. Again, 99 from 2018. It's served a pretty good life. So right now I have the blue on all of those bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts there, and the 3 underneath. So that is the Loctite blue, or Permatex blue, not the red. Red requires heat to remove. And then I've got to remember there was a pack, kind of a sound insulator pack in here. It was drenched, solid wet. So I'm going to make sure all my drain holes are open. Don't know exactly how that got all that moisture in there. I've got pretty good seals. So I'll put that pack, it's like, you know, rock wool in plastic. I'll let it dry out. And then I will put the panel back on. I've already tested this. It is a much tighter fit. So when I pull this handle, which I've yet to put the pop rivets in, I've got to do that. When I pull on this handle, it doesn't take much and it'll open up. There is no actual adjustment per se. Then I'll have to figure out what the torque is for these down here. I'll look it up, but you know, I'm just going to torque it pretty tightly, and again put the blue on there so that things don't back out. So here's the finished product. So I put in my pins, my rivets, and if you've ever put in pop rivets, be careful of that tool. Don't put your fingers between the handles, because when you squeeze it, when it pops, it'll mash a finger. So let's see how this does. I'll do this left-handed. I'm going to close it. So everything's all right. Let's see how it does. Pull the handle. Oh, there we go. Okay. I think we have success. I'm going to have to take some plastic. The Gorilla Glue didn't work here on that piece. I'm going to take some plastic and melt it on there. Use a soldering iron. That Gorilla Glue did not work, unfortunately. So I'll wrap it up for now. If the other side breaks, then I'll do that then. Oh, those piece of aluminum, aircraft grade aluminum that I used, got those off of Amazon. I think it was like 10 or 12 bucks for the 4, and that should last the life of the truck. So I'll sign off. Hopefully this helps save you a little money. I wasn't going to dump $300 something on 2 new strikers and mechanisms for 2 cables. That's a shame. Can't you know, if you can't go to the junkyard, I mean, you know, you'd pay that price. But if you go to the junkyard and you can get the old cables, the cables are fine. It's just those end pieces. You still save some money. They might charge you $2 a piece for those things. So I got to charge the battery, which it's doing now. Left it here for about a month, didn't crank it up. So I'll fix your car, but it won't go far. See you next time.